Hey guys, and welcome to another Anatomy of a Success, where I break down this pug key and go over what went right, what went wrong, and what we could have done better, as well as how we almost turned this fairly smooth key into a complete brick. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll go ahead and start off with the first pull. So just normal start here. We're going to lust off the bat here, and we already pre-talked about this before the key started, and I'm just waiting for him to finish gathering up whatever it is that he's going to pull. And as soon as I start seeing him start walking back this way, I know that's as much as he's going to pull. I go ahead and lust, and we start going to town on these ads. So the first thing that I want to point out about how to handle these first packs, if you're going to be doing it like this, is make sure even as a ranged, you want to get in and stand closer so that you're not pulling those that pat right there, but also that keeping everything kind of grouped in, because these skitter flies are going to jump to random people. But if you're staying fairly close, it allows your melee and your tank and everyone to keep cleaving, and you don't have mobs running all over the place. So just a really good pull to start off with, and just get as much killed as possible, get that lust on cooldown immediately, as well as allowing our damage to really ramp up here with how much that we pulled, and keeping it all grouped in. So we'll go ahead and move on over to the end of this pull, because right at the end, something unfortunate happens. We get one of these shades because it is spiteful right now. And unfortunately, it spawns directly on top of the person it's going to fixate. It's going to fixate on this monk, and he just walks over and just one-shots the monk. So that's our first death within the first 2 minutes of the pull. Really unfortunately, for that to start off like that. But you just got to be really careful with those things. If I had like instantaneous reflexes, maybe I could have gotten a stun out, but with the amount of time it takes to go off, I probably wouldn't have been able to save him. He maybe could have used leg sweep, but you know, these things happen so quickly. Sometimes it's hard to react that fast. But fortunately, we kind of recover from there. We handle the other side fine as well, and then that sets us up for the boss. So we'll finish clearing this out, and then we'll get into the boss next. All right, so moving on to the tree boss. During this first germinate, something really weird happens that I've never seen before, and you'll see it right here. I put out my liquid magma totem, and for whatever reason, flame shock does not appear on any of these lashers. And at first I thought that I must have just missed or put it out too soon, but you can see based on this weak aura here, I do have 4 flame shocks out. So for whatever reason, it just stops tracking during this boss, which really puts me on the back foot and really throws me off. But I do know I at least have those 4 flame shocks out. But yeah, that was really confusing, and it does this for the entire fight, which really throws me off. So fortunately, I just kind of do the best I can to adjust to that. You'll see that they do pop up like way after the fact, but I'm not sure like why it was doing that at all in the first place. So you'll also notice that this could have easily been a death. One, I got bumped, but then also the rogue he was right on top of the branch as it was spawning, but fortunately cheat death is incredibly overpowered and allows him to live. Just wanted to also point that out. So here with the first set of ads as the actual spawning ads here, this is just a good usage of like the entire group doing good with CC and like handling this. I'm going to put a stun down right off the bat. We also are in darkness that the DH puts down. So we've got the stun out, and again, that same issue happens. I can't see which ones of these I actually stunned, so that's kind of weird. It's the same nameplate issue, but they are stunned right there for at least a moment. We're also going to end up, I think it's on this pull, he also drops a Ring of Peace right at the end of darkness. Let's see if he does that. Yep. So the Ring of Peace pushes them away, and then we can just stand in the Ring of Peace, which allows the DH to kind of avoid some of those stacks, but then also the healer can cleanse that off as well. So we finished those ads really well handled. That's like 3 different ways of surviving it. We had the stun, we had the darkness, and we had the Ring of Peace. So the same thing will happen here. Again, I'm still not being able to track my flame shocks. Really weird. Not sure exactly why that's happening. So we just handled the best we can. I had already used that stun. We used another Ring of Peace. And fortunately now the boss is low enough that we can just kind of finish it off from here. And I get behind here on my own damage because, again, it's just hard to focus on tracking Flame Shock when I can't actually see it above their head. But fortunately, everyone else kind of picked up the slack here. As you can see, as he's dying, our damage is quite good at 175, 168, and 146. I was a little bit behind where I could have been, but overall, very well handled. We kept those ads really well, nice and grouped up. So with that being said, we'll just go ahead and move on into the next section. All right, so picking up with this Guardian Sentry here, so because it's spiteful, it will drop a spiteful ad here. But we kind of forget about that and immediately take the wind bridge. Just so you're aware, these spiteful things will keep you in combat, and you can't be in combat and take these wind bridges. So we easily could have lost someone here as soon as it fixates. You can see it starting to spawn. But because that we take this bridge so quickly, we managed to actually cross. You might have seen real quick that the the healer had called out, wait, don't go yet. But it manages to target someone who was already on that bridge. So fortunately, we just snap it straight to us, and it'll spawn right here. Even I was confused. I was like, oh man, one of us is going to die. But fortunately we don't, which is really good, because if you die right there, there's no way to get back unless you, I think you can mass res, but we immediately get put in combat with these eagles. So it would have been a huge loss of time, but we get really lucky there. No one dies, and we can go straight into these ads without any issue. But that could have been really, really bad. The next thing our next death here, is right here, I believe, is when it's coming up. We get all these fixates going out, and as you can see, 2 of them were on the rogue, and he couldn't just quite get away. Again, this is one of those situations where if I'd thought a little bit quicker, I could have put down Earthbind, or I could have put down Stun, or the Druid could have put down Ursul's Vortex. Anything to kind of help keep these more grouped up we could have done. I was kind of focusing on blasting a little bit too much, and that will get me in trouble a little bit later in the key. Just some foreshadowing there. But fortunately, we were able to recover. It's definitely worth to just use the battle res in this situation, even though it's just trash. It is fortified weak, and the run back is super long, and you can't ever get out of combat with this until you get to the boss. As you can see, the DH calling for the Ursuls there. But yeah, that could have been bad too. This platform is just so far away from the beginning that if you die and you have to release, that in and of itself can kill the key. So just be really careful with what you're doing. Make sure you're using your slows and your CCs there. Nothing really crazy happens. We actually handle the boss extremely smoothly. Nothing goes wrong with this. I just want to point out one thing is I'll pick up this once we got to 2 stacks, and I'm just going to wait here, because we were going to wait till 3. So I'm just going to hold onto this ball, and I'll just be the one that finally uses it. I'm just going to wait a little bit on the timer. I don't like taking chances with it, because sometimes it can take a while. So you saw him call for me to go ahead and do it, and then I throw it. Just make sure that you have a plan on when you actually want to be using this. This is when we used Lust for the Bird, when he started taking that extra damage from the fire. But again, nothing crazy goes on here. Everyone dodges, which is crazy in a pug. Sometimes that is like really hard to ask for. But yeah, this boss goes really, really smoothly. Nothing happens there. We're feeling it. We're feeling really good. So we'll go ahead and move into the next section, which is where we almost start to brick the key, and it gets really tight because of it. So I'll go ahead and go on to that next section now. All right, so this is where the key starts to get a little rough, and unfortunately it starts with me. I'm so focused on this fixated mob over here, this spiteful, that I focus only on getting away from it, and I just completely lose my vision on this Ravager. I'm just not focusing on that at all, and I walk right in front of the frontal. There's really no excuse for that, just a huge mental error on my part. So you can't lose focus for even a second, because just by me dying, not only are they losing my damage right here, but now they have to stop and res me. And that's just going to take so much time. That's like at least 20, maybe even 25 seconds off the clock, just from how long that it takes to recover from losing even one person. So you've got to really stay on the entire time. And even after that, this next pull, I'm still kind of reeling from it. We pull these foragers in with this caster pack, and then the demon hunter will run across to this other pack of casters over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 casters. And the one thing that you can't do if you're pulling that many casters is forget to interrupt or stun. So right off the bat, the rogue procs its cheat death because he got 2 surges cast on him. No one's interrupting here. Everyone's so focused on setting up their DPS. It's something you cannot do, and we just make that cardinal sin. When you have this many casters, they have to be getting interrupted. The next thing that happens is something that you'll run into pugs all the time, which is because there's no communication, there was no way for me and the monk to decide when we were going to stun, and we both decided to stun at the exact same time. So he used his leg sweep, I used my cap totem, and they go off at the same time. So not only are we going to miss a stop later in this pack because we've already used both stuns, but they immediately are DRing, so this overall stun is less time. It's just, there's really nothing you can do when you're in a pug situation. These are one of the problems with doing these as pugs instead of getting in Discord and actually having like a good group where you can communicate with each other. So that's going to immediately backfire right afterward, as we're still kind of struggling, myself including, not really focusing on getting these interrupts out. And this is going to allow for the monk to drop here because of this mana void, as well as getting hit, I think, by a surge as well. I barely am able to stay alive, and this is what I finally kind of wake up here to, oh my goodness, we actually have to interrupt these things. These guys are in full DR now because the Demon Hunter used his AoE stun as well. We get the monk back up, and now we're all like kind of on alert on actually trying to get these interrupts in, which we really should have been at the very beginning. So make sure whenever you're going into a pack of mobs when there's this many casters, that you're ready to be interrupting right off the bat, because if you're not, these things can like really get out of control really quickly. The fact that we were able to recover from this, and even with me getting down to like 8% here, I still don't even die, and we were able to completely recover within this pull and kill this pack, and not have any issues moving on to the next pack either. It's really just kind of down to luck at that point, and really good healing out of our healer here. So, you know, just, we somehow managed to turn an awful situation and get through it. But again, that could have been the key right there very easily, just because of just not using our kicks. So make sure you're paying attention in here. These mobs are extremely dangerous. So with that being said, there's one other time before we go into the final stretch on Vexamus that we run into a huge issue. So we're going to go ahead and go on to that now. All right, so at this point into Vexamus, everything's going smoothly. We're about 50% in, and this overlap happens between Mana Bombs and the Arcane Orbs, and then also Arcane Fissure. Just, there's so much damage that happens here. I don't think it would have mattered if I picked up that orb or not, because the damage from the bomb and then the first tick of Arcane Fissure just absolutely destroys myself and the rogue. Just so much damage overlapping at the same time. Even if I hadn't picked up that orb, because like as you can see here, the rogue didn't even have an orb. We were both at full health going into this. And then we both got targeted with bombs. So even if I hadn't picked up that orb, I'm probably dead here anyway. I didn't have Astral Shift, otherwise I would have used it. I had already used it earlier. So just a really, really bad overlap and just a ton of damage going out. Fortunately, I do have Reincarnate, and we do have a res that we can give to the rogue, so we do get all the way back up. But again, just one more time where the key could have easily ended did we not have those the res and then my Reincarnate. So fortunately, the rest of this goes smoothly. It was just a very, very bad overlap for us. Just a lot of damage that the healer was basically forced to either deal with or we die, and that's exactly what happened. But fortunately, nothing else happens here. Vexamus goes smoothly the rest of the way. In the next pack here, again, nothing happens here. This is where we use our Lust. So we're just blasting this pack down. We're a little bit more on our toes here in terms of interrupting these casts and not overlapping our stuns, fortunately enough. So, I mean, that was the biggest thing, is making sure that our stuns aren't overlapped, because that is an AoE stop right there. We even got the roar from the druid, which made just everything so much easier. So fortunately, no issue in this pack whatsoever, and we can go into the last trash before the final boss. And the first thing I want to point out is, I'm not sure if this was in his original route, but it's a really good pull as long as you don't have too much melee. But we do have too much melee. But fortunately, rogues are overpowered because they have cheat death. So we pull 2 knights there, these 2 knights, and then the knights up here. And we pull all of those together. They don't do too much as long as you stay out of melee range with them or you interrupt their whirlwinds. So as you can see here, we do get in this situation right after this silence sigil goes out. I think it's right here where, no, this is right where the rogue actually uses evasion. So that's actually a really good usage of evasion there. You can just stand in it and not have to worry about those whirlwinds. But I think it's right here where we get to see the overpowered nature of cheat death once again. These whirlwinds are going to come out. Yeah, there's 2 of them right there, and he gets chopped in half, but fortunately cheat death doesn't care, and he can keep living. But again, just a really dangerous pack for melee. You have to be on your toes there because of how much damage those whirlwinds can do. Fortunately for me, I can just stand just outside of it, and I don't have to worry about it at all. And just one more thing that I thought was really interesting in this next pack, I think the Demon Hunter realized we were struggling on kicks earlier in the key and did not want to throw here. All of these are casters, and he just pulls these 3 instead of pulling with this as well. I think it also could be because of the restorer right there with the shield that it can cast. These things just can end up living for way too long. So he pulls these by themselves smartly, I think, because he realizes we have enough time. So we finish those off before we do the last pull here before the boss, which will take us to our full count. No issues here. And then finally on to the boss. And we handle that fairly well. No deaths, even though I do try to, I think I try to kill myself here. I think it's right here, actually. Yep. So I get this energy bomb. I'm trying to drop it over here, but somehow I just lose track of this orb. Yeah, just trying to brick the key one last time, but fortunately the healer won't let that happen. So, but other than that, we managed to get out of here scot-free. So that's pretty much it. That's the whole key. And as you can see, you can recover from some of these bad plays, even at like 21 and stuff like that. But also, you can also brick your key so easily if even like 1 or 2 things go wrong. We only had a handful of deaths. I think it was like 6 or 7 total. Not too many, but even still, like we've never had any full wipes. That was a big thing, is not having any full wipes whatsoever. So yeah, overall, we just had a really solid group. We had a couple bumpy spots, but nothing that slowed us down too much. But even then, we were still only, 54 seconds off of losing time. So really good damage all around. Obviously, Spiteful will make that a little bit easier. But yeah, you can see how quickly these things can fall apart. That one pull where right after or right before Vexamus could have been disastrous and could have been the entire key right there. Nothing was that damaging up until that point, and it easily could have fallen apart right there. So hopefully something like this can help, especially just remembering to kick. That's got to be the biggest thing. Just remember that cheat death is overpowered, and yeah, play rogue if you really make a lot of mistakes, because no one will notice. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful for you, as well as just kind of breaking it down, seeing like some of the damage requirements, seeing the places where we did really well, as well whereas we could have really improved on. So if this was helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask them in the comments below. I stream at twitch.tv/ridmark, so feel free to come give me a follow over there. And other than that, guys, that's pretty much it, and I will see you guys in the next video.